Hello, this is Trigger from TB Solutions, and I welcome you to the first and maiden edition of our show, Tech Friday. It is the easiest and most comprehensive show you can ever get on your tech solutions. In today's edition, we're talking about what makes your computer run super slow and ways and means you can speed up your computer for it to run at its normal pace. Without much ado, let's get into business. One of the most frustrating moments in your life is having to work at a faster pace because of the workload on you. Meanwhile, your computer is running super slow. That makes you frustrated. Trust me, you don't want to get there. But the question remains, what are the reasons why your computer is running really slow? First of all, have you ever wondered looking for someone or a single person in a crowd? Would you prefer this or that? That is what our computer goes through every day. We have a lot of files on our hard drive, so the first question we're going to look for is the hard drive. Your hard drive is where all your files are stored, and each file has an address. So imagine having, as I said, this number of people or this number of files on your hard drive and having to look for only one. That takes your computer a long time to discover it. So one of the reasons why your computer is running slow is probably because you have too much files on your hard drive. So one of the best way to do that is deleting unwanted files and giving it space. Give it this. So your computer has an easy access to the important files it has to look for. So you've freed a lot of space, but still your computer is running slow. You have a few people for an interview, as I said, with a crowd, but ask yourself, how fast do they get to the interview room, which is your task. You need a fast bus, and a bigger one at that, to convey the amount of people that you found in the crowd to where they want to go. You need a bus, that's a computer bus, with a bigger width and a bigger speed. It needs to be fast, and it has to be really big. So after freeing up your space, consider improving or upgrading your bus. It will go a very long way. So we have a lot of bus. You need to check whether it is your internal bus or your external bus. Mostly internal bus cannot be upgraded, but external buses can be upgraded in terms of speed. That is what we are talking about. So the next option, after freeing up space, ask yourself, is your bus fast enough to convey the data needed? With that, you will have the amount of data needed at the right place at the right time. So now you have a few crowd. You've discovered those needed for your interview. You have a good and speedy bus. It's transferred that people, which in our terms is the data, to the right places at the right time at the fastest rate. But ask yourself, do you have that spacious parking lot? The parking lot in IT tends to be the RAM or the physical memory. Whenever a computer wants to execute an operation or wants to do something, it first sends a message to the RAM, which in turn goes into the hard drive, or which is the crowd in our first scenario, then brings the needed files into the RAM. So it shortens the distance from the CPU or the central processing unit to the hard drive. So in order for it to move from home, that's the person for the interview, from home into the interview room, it then moves from the interview room to the parking lot, because you've transferred them from home, which is the hard drive, through your bus into the RAM. So from the crowd to the bus to the parking ground. So if it turns out you need 50 people for the interview and you have only room in your parking lot for 20, what then happens? The bus needs to leave people in the bus or at the place of the crowd, so that only 20 files or 20 people stays in the RAM or the parking lot. And whenever that happens, that's when it has to go back to the hard drive to bring more anytime. So instead of moving from processor to RAM, it moves processor, RAM, then moves back into RAM to hard drive to RAM, then back to processor, which makes it a long process, that's slowing your process down. So if that happens to be your case, in order to speed it up, you need a bigger RAM. How big is your RAM? Whenever upgrading it, make sure to go to the qualified personnel for him to service it, because we have different types of RAM, because each has its size and its type. That is for the RAM. Now you have the right amount of data in your RAM, or let's say the right amount of people at the parking lot. Now the issue then turns from there into the interview room. From the interview room to the parking lot might be a longer way, so we have something called the cache memory. The cache memory is usually situated inside the processor or close to the processor. What it does is it acts as your waiting room. In our scenario, your waiting room. So instead of the processor going to the physical memory or your RAM for data, it stores your frequently used data inside the cache memory. So what it does is the files that you've used continuously or you used mostly are stored in there. So whatever happens in there is that whenever your cache memory is full or your waiting room is full, it then has to move from the cache memory to the parking lot, which is the RAM. Now, this is an illustration of what it does. So let's say you have 13 people in your waiting room. The one needed for the interview is in the parking lot, that's the RAM, not in the waiting room. The waiting room is full, so there's no way that person can fit into the waiting room. What it does, it then moves from the waiting room, because that person is not there, and goes into the parking lot for that person to come for the interview. So in the IT term, the data that you're looking for, which is not in the cache memory, is in the RAM. So if this processor sends a message to the cache memory and does not find the file needed there, it then moves into the RAM for that data. And we all know what happens if the information too is not in the RAM. It goes back into the crowd and search for it. That is one of the reasons why your computer is running really slow. So with that, all you need to do most at times is you have to turn off your computer and turn it back on again. It will really improve the speed. You're asking me why? Yes. Most memories, that's most main memories and hard drives, has its own power. It does not rely on power, but cache memory relies on the power of your system. So whenever it goes off, the cache memory also goes off and it loses its data, making it free. Or you can free up space manually by knowing the type of windows you use, and also in our subsequent videos we're going to talk about them and how to do it properly. So with our illustration, you now have a very few crowd, that's your hard drive has more space. You have a very fast bus, yes, bus, a very fast bus. You have a very large parking lot, which is your RAM, and your cache memory, which is your waiting room, is free, but still your computer is running slow. So if all these solutions couldn't help you, then let's get to the next point. Your processor, that they say is the brain of a computer. The processor speed is very important, but the issue is not always about the speed. It's about the number of cores you use. How fast is your processor? Check the type of core you use. and as a solution, find an update for it. Because if your interview room is choked or is really small, as in the illustration, only a few data can or people can get there and have what they want to do done. But if you have a spacious interview room, you can have multiple people, let's say 3, 4, or 5 people in there, as long as it does not bother your program. So in this, it means find a very good processor which is compatible, that's the important word, compatible for your computer, and upgrade it. You can contact your technician. We will be posting more videos on the compatibility of a processor and all other components of your computer. So stay tuned for more of that. Now, all your hardwares are intact. You have a good hardware outline. There are other options and other alternatives that can also improve the speed of your computer. Why not check your startup applications? There are applications that are meant or programmed to start with your computer. These include antiviruses and third-party applications. That's the one different from your operational systems. But the question is this: are you ready to sacrifice those apps for speed? Maybe you might not need it as a startup. If you don't, then you can also disable its startup status and your speed will really improve. 1 and tier are also one of the reasons why most computers are slow. Why not try changing your operational system or upgrading it? I know you really enjoy a new fast computer. Don't forget to like this video and also subscribe and click on the notification button. Leave a comment and let me know about what you think. In our subsequent episodes, we're going to talk about all these components, how to upgrade them, and how they work. This is Real TB GH. My name is Trygger from TB Solutions, and don't forget to share.